So somebody asked me a few days ago how to get the roots out of your container, specifically asking about an earth box, but any kind of container that you had plants in last year with a big root system that you're going to have to deal with. So let me show you what I do, what I found to be successful in dealing with residual roots, last year's roots. And this is an extreme example. Let me tell you why. Well, this is an extreme example because this had a tree in it. This had a Satsuma orange tree in it that just didn't make it. Part of that may have been my fault. Part of it was the cold spell we got back in the fall. But for whatever reason, the Satsuma orange is no more. So this container is just full of roots from that tree. I can feel them. There's some of them are small, some of them are large. I've already come through here. I obviously had a bunch of wood chips on the top. I've tried to get some of those out of there, but we're not going to worry about them too much. So what I did, in fact, I had to do to get the Satsuma orange tree out of there. It was growing right in the middle of it, probably 1.5 inches in diameter. So I came through here with a reciprocating saw with a long blade, not too long or you're going to cut into those corrugated pipes down there. So don't go too long with any kind of knife or saw that you use. But I just came through here and used it this way. There's a good root right there. And anyway, I ringed, you can see a lot of the root cluster there. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that away, although it's not necessary. And I'll tell you why in just a second. But I cut around that tree and rocked it over to one side. It was in there pretty good. It had a lot of roots. So again, this is an extreme example of what to do with roots because it had lots of them. So I've come through here, and there's one right there. You can see the dirt piling up. Just cut through that. Now, if you don't have a recip, that's okay. I have also used for smaller things. Now, Hori might not have worked on this one because it was so extreme. The roots were so big from a tree, not a tomato plant. First of all, well, let me say, if you don't have, there's a big chunk of root right there. So that's the roots system that was formed in this from that Satsuma orange tree. That would have been coming from the tree and then going down. So that's a nice chunk of root, and there's several in there. I'm just going to leave them in there because they're going to rot. All these little roots, I'm throwing them out right now, but I don't really know why I'm doing that because they're going to rot. So I'm really not worried about it. I'm not concerned about, and some of you are going to ask me about it, about these wood chips that were on top. Now they're kind of, some of them I've thrown a lot of them out, but some of them are getting embedded, and that's going to deplete the nitrogen and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't worry about it. I haven't found that to be an issue. But anyway, once you start cutting the roots, they'll come out. And whatever doesn't come out, I just wouldn't worry about it. Now, if it's a big old tomato plant sitting there and you're sitting there in the fall or in the winter, you're starting to do your winter cleanup, preparation for spring, that tomato plant's going to pull out of there with about a ball of root like that. It's only going to go down about that far. It's just not going to be a huge thing like I have found with this tree here. Again, extreme example of what to do with roots. So I would just pull the tomato out, the pepper out. They're going to have decent root systems. Depends on how long you wait, because by this time of the year, by the spring of the year, if they died in October at the first frost, then those roots have had all winter long to rot, and they're going to do that. They're going to rot quite a bit. But go ahead and get out what you can. Pull the plant out, pull the stem out, pull the whatever root ball you can, and then go around it with a saw, or if you don't have a saw, I would highly recommend a Hori. Love these knives. It's got a measuring, a ruler on it, basically gives you a 6-inch measure there for planting things, for spacing things. If you want to plant something a foot apart, you do that, and there's your foot. So just I love the Hori Hori. I've got one. I couldn't find this a while ago, and I thought, well, I'm gonna have to buy another one, because that's the way I do with tools. If I can't find one, I buy another one, then I find the then I find the one and have two. That's why I've got two of everything. But a Hori Hori would do the same thing coming through here like this, especially on tomatoes, peppers, things like that. That cuts it real good and does a real good job also in the earth box. I've used a Hori Hori, mainly use a Hori Hori in an earth box. I don't normally get that recip out for an earth box because it's been a vegetable and not a fruit tree. It just doesn't have the root system. So a Hori Hori cutting around it would be really good. That's what I would do. So I'm gonna go ahead and plant some cabbages. My daughter gave me several 6-packs of cabbages. In an earth box, you plant 6 cabbage plants in an earth box. So when I plant in a wicking tub, I use the earth box as an example because it's about the same amount of soil. It's about 2 cubic feet. Maybe a wicking tub actually has more, 2.5 cubic feet of potting mix in it. And you know, if you can plant 2 tomato plants in an earth box, I believe you can plant 2 in a wicking tub. I usually plant 1, but I have planted 2 on several occasions and couldn't see any difference. So I would say 2 is fine in a wicking tub. You know, as long as you maintain your fertilization program and such. So I got my fertilizer, but before I do that, I'm going to put some lime in it. Now, if I'm doing an initial planting of an earth box or a wicking tub, I put a pound of lime in it. A pound of lime down deep in there, and I knead it and turn it over and try to mix it in with the top 8 or 10 inches of soil. On an earth box, just try to mix it in with the top 3 or 4 inches of soil maybe. This is not going to be a pound. This is a little less than a cup, and I think that's probably plenty. And that's probably maybe a half a pound or something. But I do want to get some lime in it because most everything you grow needs a pH that's close to neutral as you can get it. Blackberries like, I think it's 5.5 to 6.5. Most veggies like somewhere around 7. So mix that in. We can do that with the Hori Hori and kind of get in there a little bit deeper. Now again, this is a little harder to mix because it's got so many roots in it, and you're not going to have to deal with that, especially if it's an initial planting. You're not going to have to deal with that at all. This one, it's kind of hard to get in there and mix a little bit. So I'll do that. This is my second, you know, this is not the initial planting, this is a replant. And then I'll do this for the earth box too. But the lime is mixed in. Now I'll come in here and get ready for my fertilizer. Now earth box has 1 pound of fertilizer, so that's what I do. My fertilization program is kind of a hybrid. I don't go by Mr. Leon, and I'm not saying I'm smarter than him because he knows more about gardening than I will ever know if I live 3 lifetimes probably. But I just having experienced the earth box, looking at the success I've had with those and the success that earth box has had all over the world, I just know that you don't have to like fertilize down the hole every time. That's what Mr. Leon says. He lightly fertilizes when he plants, and then every time he waters, he puts in a tablespoon or teaspoon, I think it is, of fertilizer. I just don't want to have to do that. Maybe it's because I'm lazier than him. I don't know. So I'm going to take my 543 from Hoss. It's organic fertilizer. I'm going to put about 2 pounds in it. I would put, if it was a synthetic fertilizer, I'd put 1 pound. But since it's this, I'm going to put about 2 pounds. My scale broke, but if I remember right, when that's full, it's about 2 pounds. Again, commercial fertilizer, I would put 1 pound, like a triple 13 or something. So then I need to cover that fertilizer up. And when I'm doing it, since I'm going to plant right there, as I'm covering the fertilizer up, I'm going to try to push it up against that side wall and get it out of the way like that, whether you can see that or not, and get the fertilizer out of the way of where I'm fixing to put those plants. So, and then cover it up and then just smooth it out. All right. Still dealing with roots. Daggone it. That's all right. All right. Where's my hoary hoary? So, there and there. 3, 4, 5, and 1 in the middle. That's how we're going to do the cabbage. So I use the earth box as an example for how I plant, how I fertilize, because again, they're just so successful in what they do. There are some sticks and stuff falling down here, some wood chips and stuff. I'm just not going to worry about that since I've fertilized it pretty well. I just don't think it's going to be an issue. Cover that up. Bring another one out. So there. All right, 6 cabbages planted. Now those were very dry, as you might can see. That soil in there is very dry. I've had them in the barn for a couple of nights because it got cold. So I'm gonna come in here and water it really good from the top with a real gentle watering wand until I see it coming out the weep hole. If you don't know what the weep hole is, then you don't know anything about wicking tubs, and you need to watch the video right up in the corner that I'll put up here at the end of this video. Wicking tubs are a really great way to garden if you want a container garden. So let me water these in and watch them grow, and they should do just fine. And I'll give you an update on them in a week or two. All right, that's it. We're gone.